is yoga? What is yoga, and what is this science of yoga that Taimni is talking about? Everything that we call yoga, every form of yoga that we talk about came from these Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. But they're very specific. They don't mention Hatha Yoga. They don't mention, they do mention Kundalini as part of it, but they don't mention Bhakti Yoga. They don't mention, what are some of the others? Laya Yoga. Well, yeah. Laya and Kundalini are different, are two variations of the same type. But all of these different schools of yoga came about after these aphorisms were written. And yet, when in the West, when you say yoga, they think of somebody doing these postures. But the true yoga is much more than that, much more than that. Raja Yoga is the term for what Patanjali was teaching, and it has a very specific goal. That goal is, well, let's read it right from the horse's mouth. At the very beginning, it says, yoga is the inhibition of the modifications of the mind. Well, that doesn't, but the inhibition of the modifications of the mind, what does that mean? Actually, one of Eckhart Tolle's greatest terms, I love it, is the voice in the head. How many of you have heard his voice in the head? How many of you have a voice in the head? Mm-hmm. Not everybody does. Everybody does. All throughout the day, isn't there like a caustic conversation going on in your mind? Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. What do you think? Well, I don't know. What do you think? It's almost like two different people having a conversation, isn't it? It goes on constantly. And what happens when you sit down to meditate? The voice doesn't stop talking. It keeps chattering. This is what he is referring to when he calls the modifications of the mind. The mind kind of just is constantly creating this chatter, what we can refer to as chatter. It may not be words, it may be images, it can be anything, but it's whatever is passing through. Sometimes it's, and as you become more sensitive, you can be aware of this. Sometimes it is nothing more than the thought forms that other people around you are sending out. You may be picking up on a thought form, and all of a sudden a phrase will pop into your head.